So let's just say that Caesar is an effeminate, tough guy, kind of like if you genetically melded Mo from the Three Stooges with Norma Desmond from Sunset Boulevard.
Don't start this car so you can watch that stupid crap!
Ah, my brain!
And then you have Otto, who's basically the world's laziest man. He's a hopeless romantic who falls in love with virtually every woman that he's ever laid eyes on. Caesar unintentionally punches out the mentally challenged brother of the chief of police. He and Otto have to go into hiding as summer camp counselors at the strangely vacant Camp Sunsmile. Carrie shows up, who's played by Felissa Rose. The summer camp counselors begin disappearing one by one, and Caesar and Otto have to place together the mystery of what's going on before they themselves become the next victim. Take part Three Stooges, part Abbott and Costello, Dumb and Dumber. You throw those kinds of characters into a 80s slasher film. A low-budget 80s summer camp slasher film. I had made a $700 comedy called Caesar and Otto. When an opportunity came up to do another film for the same producer of Dark Chamber, I pitched the idea of putting those Caesar and Otto characters in the middle of a slasher film. The producer liked the idea and kind of evolved from there. I grew up watching a lot of older movies like Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, Abbott and Costello Meet The Mummy, Meet Boris Karloff, because they don't really make that kind of film anymore. So that was very much the inspiration for writing this film, trying to do a modern day equivalent of that, granted on a much lower budget. I wanted to make sure that the low budget didn't hinder the comedy. I wanted to make it part of the absurdity. We started off doing sketch comedy in basements, probably this basement right here. It was basically through one of those exercises that Caesar and Otto evolved from. And years later, that became the basis of these feature films. Paul is my good friend, and hopefully we have a lot more Caesar and Otto films left in us. Felissa Rose I met on the set of a local commercial, and I was telling her about this independent thriller that I was writing, and she was really interested and said she wanted to audition. I had no idea that she was a star of Sleepaway Camp. Well, we forged a friendship from them, and I wrote this thing without knowing if she would accept it. So thank you, Felissa, for saying yes to the role. I don't know what I would have done if she didn't do it.
It's not true, you got a penis, is it?
Felissa's husband is Darren Miller. When he heard about the project, he wanted to get involved in it. And of course, it's Darren Miller. If he wanted to play Caesar, I would have let him. We got along really well. He very much understood where I was coming from. We definitely forged this rapport. A number of months later, Felissa called me and said that Darren had an idea for a story that he wanted to adapt into a screenplay with me, and would I fly out there and develop it with him. And co-writing with Darren was the best collaborative experience that I've had. He actually has a much expanded part in Caesar and Otto's Deadly Christmas. Brinke Stevens knows her stuff, knew everybody's lines, did her part in just a few hours, and was extremely pleasant all along the way. So, without doubt, I had to bring her back for Deadly Christmas. Joe Estevez is more fun than any human being has the right to be. And if you're a big Joe Estevez fan, make sure to buy yourself a copy of Caesar and Otto Summer Camp Massacre, because there's a 25-minute exclusive interview with him. Films like this, low-budget, micro-budget indie films, rely so heavily on the crew. So I've really got to thank people like Robin Ritter and Christian Voss and Summer Ferguson and everybody who was involved on this crew, who are there day in, day out, working for nothing, just in their belief in the project. The first Caesar and Otto film was much more akin to Dumb and Dumber meets The Truman Show. These two half-wit half-brothers become part of a reality TV sitcom that they themselves don't know they're on. And if you're a big fan of the Caesar and Otto characters, make sure to visit the official website. I'm going to make the first film available for steal starting in October or November. Caesar and Otto's Deadly Christmas is the darkest, the goriest, the funniest, and the Caesar and Otto film with the most heart. I'm currently editing it right now, and we should have it done for Xmas. If the Caesar and Otto films have some life and there's interest from the audience, then I have a whole slew of other films that we could parody, like Paranormal Activity, ghost movies, and I'd like to tackle that next. Dark Chamber was my debut film. It was very much my attempt to tell a modern-day Hitchcockian story. So there's not really much, there's not really any gore in the piece. It's much more of a character, drama, mystery, with strong atmosphere and plot twists. You know, I got tired of just the same old gore fest, and the only way I was willing to do a gore fest was if I was making a joke of it, and that's what we're doing with the Caesar and Otto films. I heard a quote from Steven Soderbergh who said that if you really want to get involved in the film industry, you should probably take that money that you're using for college and put it toward your own independent film, because you're going to be you're going to be judged on the basis of what you've done and not where you've studied. And that was the genesis of my debut film. My education really came from working with other student filmmakers as a production assistant, as a grid, but listening to any myriad of DVD commentaries. I mean, that provided for me as much of an education as a $100,000 degree could have provided me with. I'm a big fan of Brad Anderson. He was the director of The Machinist and Session 9. I love the work of Edgar Wright, Christopher Nolan. You know, as a film goer, I mean, I love anything from On the Waterfront. Then an action film like Raiders of the Lost Ark, I think, is the best example of that kind of film. And I love some of the lower budget stuff like Steve Miner and William Catt and Ethan Wiley's movie House from the 80s. I mean, I enjoy a very wide range of movies. I'm not a big fan of when films just try to shock you for the sake of shocking you. Like, look how absolutely disgusting and tasteless this is, and there's no reason for it being that disgusting and tasteless other than the fact that they want to shock you. That's kind of like snuff. I don't have much interest in that. I'm also not a big fan of films that have done what everybody else has done before without trying to reinvent it in some way. Everything that I've done has been an attempt to breathe some fresh life into familiar materials. Whether I've succeeded or not, I don't know. And Caesar and Otto Summer Camp Massacre was an attempt not to just do the same old Shaun of the Dead ripoff or Zombieland ripoff that a lot of no budget filmmakers make. I wanted it to be something that's fresh again. I've got an official website. I've got the Facebook page, my own personal page. So make sure to check them all out.